Warm greetings to you all. It is a sincere and humbling honor to be part of this event today. This, the 36th annual Charles A. Goldmark Award Luncheon. I want to thank the Legal Foundation of Washington, LFW, for providing me this opportunity to be in community with you. It lifts my spirits to take a little bit of time today to pause and share with you this special moment. An event that lovingly interrupts our arduous paths on the long road to a flourishing and just society, and allows us to take a breath, release a bit of tension in our shoulders, and see each other, to vest ourselves with the fullest sense of our connection to each other. I'm filled with joy today to notice you all and to celebrate this year's Goldmark honoree, Annie Lee, Director of Team Child and fierce champion for young people most harmed by unjust systems. Annie has dedicated her life to defending the rights and humanity of youth and young adults. I feel connected to Annie. Even though our spheres don't often get to Venn as much as I'd like, I feel connected by the way she inspires me and because of a particular something we share. I heard in an interview once that Annie, as a child, thought she might grow up to be a marine biologist. And I did too, as a youth. We share that in common. But what makes Annie's young aspiration more remarkable, than mine at least, is that she dreamed of that as a child in Nebraska who had never even seen the ocean. The ability to dream of things not yet seen, like, say, an end to the practice of youth incarceration, for example. That's what makes Annie visionary and inspiring to so many of us. Team Child has a statement of purpose that includes this passage. We envision a world where all young people have power and experience unconditional belonging. Unconditional belonging. Knowing our power and knowing belonging aptly names unalienable constituents of participating in a beloved community. This is the society. This is the beloved community that Annie Lee, through her spirit and actions every single day, reminds us can be realized, must be realized, and can only be reached if we each roll up our sleeves and sculpt it with our own hands. So I'm filled with joy today to be part of honoring Annie Lee. And I'm filled with joy today to just be in company with you. Thank you all, because I also know that this event honors all of you, staff, lawyer, judges, all of you, for who you are as individuals and for what you accomplish as a combined force for justice. We might need to get you all some sheroes and heroes and non-binary Avengers out there, some capes. A lot of people don't realize. They don't realize that there are folks in the world like you, doing remarkable things, to hold together lives that have been fractured and fragmented, doing remarkable things. I will share with you that I cherish time with people who are committed to actively doing good work, who are doing more than waiting for the world to be a better place, who don't change their moral values when an issue feels a bit too close to their own backyards. I need to be around people like that. People actively addressing and dismantling systemic racial oppression, who are unapologetic and vividly intentional about building a better world, which is why I admire you all and why I'm so honored to be part of this Legal Foundation of Washington event. Now, I know that LFW is there for low-income families across the state by funding the civil justice organizations that are doing hard, worthy work. I know that LFW sees how oppression destroys lives every day and how the anti-racist-based grant-making is a critical part of the solution. LFW sees the pervasive nature of civil legal inequity, impacting issues of immigration and housing and domestic violence and worker rights, to name just a few. Racism and its oppression kin show up in people's lives in so many different ways. Each family or individual may have very unique needs and call on very different talents from each and every one of you. There's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all when it comes to the ways you approach the myriad of challenges folks can face. When it comes to oppression, there is no single recipe for justice. Yet there may be some common themes, some common ingredients. And from my training in healthcare, I know one of those fundamental ingredients is dignity. Dignity. To be clear, I didn't learn this from a classroom or a lab or a hospital. I learned this from the people and the legacy of a community clinic. When the clinic was started back in the late 1960s, its first medical director, Blanche Levizo, coined the term quality care with dignity, a term that came to define the clinic's history. When I first started there a couple of decades ago, I had a lot to learn. I was filled with professionally adorned hubris, let's say, and the kind of healthcare technocentrism, such that I thought the term quality care with dignity was something quaint and historic, or at least that the contemporary emphasis was on the quality care part of that dyad. But I learned, just like the Sankofa bird teaches, about the present relevance of the herstory, and I was taught, mostly by brilliant black women, about the crucial and enduring importance of being intentional about promoting dignity. I learned just how much healthcare systems, with their deeply rooted and ongoing racism, systematically deprive people, especially black and brown people, especially low-income people, how they rob them of their dignity, and how we can never claim to care about wellness if we don't practice promoting dignity. If we don't practice promoting dignity with the same focus that we in primary care promote preventive care, or vaccines, or dental care. Dignity. Dignity is fundamental to wellness, and depriving dignity is a serious injustice. Right alongside the canon of documented health harms of racism, alongside the life-threatening nature of being a black woman giving birth in our healthcare system, alongside worse outcomes for cancer care because of differing treatment based on the extent of your melanin, alongside the decrement in life expectancy by 3 and 4 years if you're black or Hispanic Latinx in this country during this time of COVID. Undoing systemic harm is hard work. It's hard work in this kind of environment because this kind of environment leads to further criminalization of poverty and of pigment. Because this kind of environment lures people to abandon sense and science. Not only of things like vaccines, but also of the sense and science of things like brain development, tempting people to conclude without sense or wisdom or logic that the more serious a crime committed by a trauma-suffused youth means the more we should, for some reason, call them an adult when it comes to addressing the crime. There is not sense or wisdom or logic or science. There's no understanding at all in that kind of conclusion. Undoing systemic harm and rediscovering the practice of instilling hope is hard work. And we all have good reason to lose our focus in the fugue of fatigue. Each of us is navigating our own path these days, but there's a commonality of experience for us, because we're all traversing this time of pandemic. And 2 years in, we're all facing our own version of fatigue. Naming our particular sort of fatigue right now, that might not be easy. And maybe it's not all that necessary to name it. We need only understand how it affects us and how it affects our ability to rise up and rise to the challenges that are most meaningful. I won't pretend to know your journey, but I know that every trauma comes supersized these days. It can make even casual greeting feel kind of irrelevant. So I find that I don't ask, "How are you?" very often these days. And I really don't want anybody to ask me that question so often either, at least not in the passing polite form. I don't ask, "How are you?" unless you're in meaningful relationship with me. It's hard to adequately put to words the answer. It's hard to name our particular sort of fatigue right now. I don't want to presume anything, and I don't want to say something disingenuous. I don't want you to have to say anything disingenuous. So I won't ask, "How are you?" But I will say, It's good to see you. It's good to spend time with you. It's good to be in community with you. And I hope your time is purpose-driven. I hope for you there's a sense of purpose. We can feel purpose. We can feel purpose-driven without always having to name the details of it. It's enough to know that our purpose-driven efforts have meaning. So I trust that your days in this early part of the year are purpose-driven and that you are devoting some effort to reflection. Not so much to figure out every detail, but to contemplate its meaning, or maybe just get comfortable with waiting and allowing for some time for the meaning to be revealed on its own. I'm asking something of all of us, of myself and of you. I'm asking all of us to remain deeply connected to the things that deeply matter, such as the work of equity, the work of undoing racism, the work of understanding the intersections of equity, racism, justice, and dignity. That's some hard work, but it's at the core of purpose and meaning. And our emergence from this current time as a country, as individuals, as communities, as families, well, that depends, in my view, on our deep commitment to this hard and meaningful work. Unrighting harm is hard work, and injustice really doesn't care too much if we're tired. But you and I know it's always the right time to do the right thing. And it's important to remember that we are woven together in a fabric of co-destiny, and that we are immeasurably stronger together than we are as single entities. It's important to remember the lessons of Sankofa, the lessons that teach us to remember our past so that our strength is not further diverted by forever repeating the struggles of yesterday. It's important to help others find that level and just ground in the space between their fears. It's hard to ask any more of each other, any more of us these days. But hey, maybe it's more about asking less of all of us in a way. Because I firmly believe that oppression must be tiring. Oppression must be exhausting, must itself be overwhelmingly fatiguing. It seems like hard work, right? It seems like hard work to hold other people down. It seems like hard work to squeeze our eyes and ears firmly shut to wisdom and sense and logic. It's hard work expending energy justifying systems that are completely unjustifiable, spewing misinformation, seeking the scarcity that says your gain is my loss, rather than the abundance that says not only that there's plenty for all, but also that the plenty grows even more when it's shared. Yes, oppression must be hard work. Harder work for sure than the work of undoing harm. I think it's okay to feel fatigue, to attend to our needs for care and restoration. Yet it doesn't mean letting go of the worthy work of true justice. I believe we need only tap into an energy amplifier, a supercharger of kinetics and spirit. That supercharger is called hope. And I know that hope is a choice. Hope is a choice and not a passive or imposed condition. Hope is a choice we get to make. Hope is a choice we get to practice, and in practicing hope, we are refueled, we are renewed, we are recharged, we are restored. Hope is a choice. I learned that from my elders, from those brilliant Black women, and from the look in the eye of every child I meet. Hope is a choice. It's a choice we get to make, and in making it, tap into power without measure. Hope is a choice and a gift that we can offer each other. And in choosing hope and offering hope, we find ourselves unstoppable on our journey towards a better world, on our journey towards unconditional belonging, on our journey to a beloved community. Thank you for allowing me to share space with you. I hold you deeply and closely in my heart. I am so in admiration of the work that each and every one of you does. I look forward to being a co-conspirator with you, and I hope that your days are filled with the kind of purpose and meaning that allows all of us to move together in this work.